I've been receiving viewer feedback for a while now, all telling me about how great Insurgency Sandstorm truly is and that I seriously needed to give it a go. And since Battlefield 2042 proved to be an unmitigated disaster, and wanting to explore some of these titles that are highly recommended and yet don't get enough media coverage, I have finally given in and found my way into the Sandstorm. All I can say is, oh my f***ing god. My name is LtBuzzLitebeer, and welcome to my channel. Before we begin, I wanted to thank you all for the continued and overwhelming levels of support you've been showing my channel as we rapidly close in on 100,000 subscribers. And in case you aren't yet a sub, please take a moment to smash that big, beautiful subscribe button, and don't forget to ring the bell to receive all my future upload notifications. Little known fact here, but I actually dabbled a bit in the original Insurgency title way back in, I think it's what, 2014, 2015? Anyways, it was quite rough around the edges, especially when you compare it to other titles that were on the market at the time, like Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Still, it had this hardcore battle sim vibe to it that pulled no punches and absolutely held nothing back. The sequel, Sandstorm, launched in 2018, and when it launched, I just didn't have enough hours in the day to get sucked into another tactical FPS, so I passed on it, which, based now on my first 10 hours spent in this game, was a serious lapse in judgment. If I were to try and describe this game to someone that hasn't played it before, it would go something like this. To me, Sandstorm reminds me of a tactical, team-based, objective-driven game, something like a Rainbow Six Siege, but set in an open-world environment, where every shot fired is lethal, including your own team's. Anyways, here's a bit about this title over on Steam. Insurgency Sandstorm is self-described as a team-based tactical FPS based on lethal close-quarters combat and objective-oriented multiplayer gameplay. Experience the intensity of modern combat where skill is rewarded and teamwork wins the fight. Anyways, 3 words I want to highlight from that description, which will perfectly describe Insurgency, are tactical, lethal, and intensity. And this game is simply overflowing in all 3. Tactical and lethal are the perfect transitions over to the topic of gunplay, and Insurgency really nails it in this department. And I keep saying this, but if you make a shooty game and the shooting feels like shit, you might as well not release that title. And Insurgency crushes it in this department. Quick disclaimer here though. If you aren't into realistic weapon handling, recoil, and weapon management, such as authentic reload times and ammo conservation, then you're just not going to appreciate this game as much as you could. You have very limited ammo, which can vary slightly based on your loadouts, more on this later, but this means that you can't just go full-on auto mag after mag and expect to have anything left over for when you really need it. Drain down your ammo to 0, and you're going to expect to hear the dreaded hammer click as your weapon tells you it's being dry-fired. Now, in this game, recoil is very real and requires a savvy trigger and pop firing at distance. Once you do start getting rounds on target, expect time to kill to be in a fraction of a second. This is gunplay rooted in realism, so expect to down targets or be downed yourself just in the blink of an eye. Sandstorm rewards patience and tactical movements, and punishes you severely when you don't check your corners or preemptively fire at open windows. Snipers can rain down hell on you from every angle, and unlike other FPS titles, you don't get the added benefit of scope glint just to help you locate their positions. After a bit of time with the game, I've now become accustomed to the real-world physics it employs for movement. Like a natural human soldier, it's going to take you a bit of time to pull one's body weight up from a full prone to standing position, and you can kind of apply this principle to every movement type in the game. Running around like a commando in this game will net you just getting folded in the blink of an eye. And speaking of running or movements in general, there is a limit to what your soldier can do before losing stamina and then therefore losing movement speed, so planning your advances takes a bit of timing. Reload animations look super smooth and are based on reality. So let's say if you decide to reload your belt-fed LMG, expect to be out of combat for what feels like an eternity. Jumping down from ledges and heights can lead to damage or even death if you attempt too far a jump. I also really appreciated the natural timing and just the feel of simple things like lighting off your Molotov cocktail and hurling it into a crowded room, or the ability to cook nades before letting them loose just a fraction before they explode. An easy way to explain movement in Sandstorm is if a real-world soldier can't do it, then don't expect it to happen in this game. You can sprint, walk, crouch, go prone, and there's also this tactical stealth creep walk that allows you to move without making noise, but at the cost of most of your mobility. Now, just like in World War III, there's also lean abilities, so you can peek left and right around corners. Reloads are again interrupted by other commands, so if you initiate a reload and then, say, attempt to go prone, the reload will cancel, so you're always having to prioritize your movement sequences. Now, I always compare any FPS now to Battlefield 4, and the movements are pretty similar in Sandstorm, just expect everything to take longer, so you need to plan ahead. One thing I did want to point out is the vault mechanics can get a little janky. If you're attempting to climb up terrain to a higher location, I've had times where I start spamming the correct key and I just descend instead of ascend, usually leading to me just taking a round and a quick death. I just thought I would point that out because against the other smooth in-game movements, this vault mechanic really just stuck out. I purchased the Deluxe Edition because I had some saved up funds on Steam, and interesting to note here is that the base game purchase comes with all the weapons, maps, and modes, so from what I can see, all you get when you purchase the more expensive editions is more cosmetics for your character. This means that every weapon in the game is unlocked immediately and available for you to use as long as you have that class unlocked, of which there's currently 8 different classes, and each has unique weapons to choose from. You can grab the Breacher class and run wild with SMGs, or the Gunner class, where you get to wield light machine guns. From the base weapons, you then get to select from a decent amount of weapon attachments for each. Not as many as what I saw in World War III, but still, you've got a nice selection here, and most have some sort of effect on weapon handling. You can also choose your sidearm, explosives, grenades, armor rating, and consumables capacity, along with other items like a mask and combat knife. Now, as you tack on different amounts of gear onto your character, your weight rating increases, so you can see how it will affect movement speed. The more heft and crap you pile on, the slower you're going to move. And finally, there's this interesting economy system for gear and attachments. Not that it costs in-game currency, but each loadout has presets amount you can spend. Certain weapons and attachments cost more because they're stronger, meaning you have less to spend on other items like, say, armor or grenades. It becomes this balancing act of setup, weight limits, and loadout points to spend. And oh, by the way, there is a handy loadout save function, so you don't have to reconfigure each and every time you enter a match. Be aware that there are kill streaks in this game, but only available to a team commander, which needs another player playing the Observer class, which is a radio operator, to actually call in those strikes. Okay, let's talk performance here, and this is really a mixed bag for me on PC. So first up is the actual performance of the game, and to be honest here, I thought this game would visually pop a little harder than it did. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, but I encountered a lot of low-res textures in the environment that really stood out from the weaponry, which is quite gorgeous. Sandstorm runs on the Unreal Engine, but in all honesty, it's starting to look a bit last gen. Not that I need the most incredible graphics here, I don't know, it looks dated. I'm just being honest here. Now, in terms of getting it set up on PC for optimal frame rates while recording, that was a royal pain in the ass. I have a monster rig with a Threadripper PRO CPU, a ton of RAM, and a 3090 graphics card. So when I initially got this game downloaded and ready, I set the frame rate for the game to cap at 120 FPS to match my 4K monitor, which led to horrific catches, stuttering, and freezing. Now, by comparison, I can hop onto Battlefield 4 on full ultra and play and record at a rock steady 120 frames per second without blinking. So there's some optimization issues going on here. Now, after a bit of noodling with Sandstorm, I did get it to play much better on the highest settings, but I had to cap the frame rate at 60 frames per second. And in the world of Twitch shooters, this hurts your ability to respond to danger in a fraction of a second. I know the game was also released on last-gen console with plans for backwards compatibility to next-gen sometime this year. And by the way, if you own and play this title on your console, let me know how it performs for you. Now, on the flip side of that performance discussion is the game itself, and more specifically, the sound design, which is abso-freaking-lutely superb. Now, my biggest gripe with World War III, and to a degree Battlefield 2042, was the subpar sound design, but Sandstorm simply crushes it. The ability to locate incoming players is spot on, as long as they're not stealth walking, and even things like when enemy players use their comms to make callouts in your proximity, you hear it and can use that to locate their positions. It is so refreshing to be able to use both my eyes and ears to locate targets. Now, in terms of sound quality itself, Sandstorm does not disappoint. The individual weapons sound like their real-world counterparts, and different weapon types and differing weapon attachments have distinct sound patterns. The terror-filled screams from your surrounding enemies or friendlies, the epic whiz and crack of rounds as they buzz past your location. I just can't say enough at how much this game's sound design impressed me. There were times that I would get myself into an intense firefight location and actually just stop and listen to the mayhem, each note having an important part to play in this symphony of destruction.
Uh-oh. They have the Toyota.
Also, mics are not required, but highly, and I stress, highly recommended to get the most out of your gaming experience. Just like I answered in my last video where I gave you a breakdown on World War III, here's again that question some of you are wanting answered. Is Insurgency Sandstorm able to compete with and deliver an immersive battle experience on par with something like a Battlefield 2042? And to anyone out there looking at possibly purchasing one of these two titles, I'm sorry here, but this competition is not even close. But I want to give you the full picture on Sandstorm before you decide to make this purchase. Unlike Battlefield 2042, which is more Apex or COD in nature, Sandstorm is sweaty as f***, and you need to fully grasp what kind of game this is. When you venture into these realistic battle sims, they deliver the full, immersive experience, and what that will translate to for you is dying. A lot, way more than you're probably used to. But with time, practice, and map knowledge, you will improve. Sandstorm has a near vertical leaning learning curve, and it has the ability to humble and humiliate even the most seasoned FPS vets. Trust me, I know. Now within the game, expect to see interesting game modes like push, firefight, frontline, domination, and ambush spread out over a decent amount of maps. And there's also a full tutorial and co-op mode as well, just to, kind of slow it down and teach you the basics. The base game retails right now on Steam for $29.99 USD, and if you don't care about looking like a total Don all decked out in the latest Battlefield fashions, then the base game purchase gives you all the weapons, maps, and modes. I've also seen it drop to 50% off, so down to just $15 over on Steam, which is lunch for two at McDonald's. But even as good as those French fries taste, you'll get way more enjoyment out of this game than those fries, just as long as you know going in what kind of battle sim experience Sandstorm delivers. I encourage you to leave me any feedback you have on Insurgency Sandstorm. Do you own it? If so, on what platform, and how have you enjoyed it so far? Now, I do plan on adding this title into my rotation of games that I will cover, but I don't know how much actual seat time I can spend in it, grinding out those levels. Don't forget to smash that sub button and ring the bell to receive all my future upload notifications. If you could take a few seconds more to rate and or share this video, it would be greatly appreciated. You can find and follow me on Twitch, Twitter, and are welcome to join my community Discord server. Links to all my socials in the video description below. Thank you again for all your awesome support, and I can see 100K subs in the near future. Until the next one, this is LtBuzzLitebeer, signing off.